All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. Yes, I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. Now, if you'd like to send me an email, it's xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And if you'd like to find out about the broadcast schedule that we have here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. And, of course, we're on Simul TV, and to find out all about the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV, visit www.simultv.com. Now, you may have been wondering where I have been for the last 2 months. Well, it's very simple. I was in hospital on November the 15th. I was involved in a serious accident that required a number of surgeries. What happened, Craig said, it's very simple. I was outside putting up Christmas tree lights on the roof, and I fell off the ladder 10 feet, shattered my right hip, and shattered my right femur, thanks to the good people at the Welland Emergency Center, Dr. Song, and then my rehabilitation at the Shaver Hospital in St. Catharines, Ontario. I'm back, stronger than ever. First time I've had a 2-month vacation, and what a hell of a way to get it. Anyway, thank you very much for all your cards, your emails, and your letters of concern. It's nice to be back, and this is the first show that I've done since November the 15th. And what a year it's been. 2020 was just horrific. And here we are in 2021, and in the province of Ontario, where I reside, our COVID numbers are going through the roof. In fact, for the second time within 365 days, today the province of Ontario has issued a state of emergency. So here we go again. COVID has risen. I don't know what's going on. Everybody thinks, all right, there's a vaccine. We can act stupid again. No, you can't. You need to kind of hunker down. Follow what the health authorities are saying. Follow what the governments are saying, both municipal, provincial, and federal. We have to take care of each other, X-Zone Nation. There's no two ways about it. So to each and every one of you, belated Merry Christmas. Belated Happy New Year, and it's great being back here on the X-Zone. My guest tonight is a gentleman that we've had the pleasure of having on the show before. His name is Robert Barrows, and Robert is 70 years young. He lives in San Mateo, California. That's just a little bit south of San Francisco. He's in the advertising and public relations business. He is also the inventor of a video tombstone called Video Enhanced Gravemarker, and he's also an artist, a songwriter, an author, and a poet. Now, one of the poems he has recently written is a poem that the whole world can vent to right now. It's a poem called The New Coronavirus Blues. Joining me now from his home in San Mateo, California, is Robert Barrows. And Robert, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Thank you, and I'm glad you're feeling okay. I'm glad you're better.
Thank you, my friend. So tell us about your poem. I think that we should start off this segment about the poem, since the coronavirus is not getting any better. So tell us, what was your inspiration, besides the coronavirus? And can you read it to us?
Well, I'll read it to you without the first two lines, because the first two lines are a little...
risque?
Risky. But that's how I thought about it. And, like when you found out that you can't go outside, you can't shake hands, you can't say hello to someone, you can't hug someone.
Yes.
That's the new coronavirus blues. So to give you an idea of what it sounds like, and it's funny, I was going to write this. It was designed to be a song, but if I sing it, it wouldn't make sense if somebody famous sings it. It might, but I might just for your audience, just sing a few bars of it.
Sure, we'd love
it. Just to have fun. No more touching, no more rubbing, just a lot of scrubbing. I got those new coronavirus blues. No more kissing, no more licking. No more secretly nose picking. I got those new coronavirus blues. No more traveling, no more gathering, no more sexy unraveling. I got those new coronavirus blues. No more intimacy, no more skintimacy, no more shaking hands, no more rubbing glands, no more fans in the stands. I got those new coronavirus blues. No more meetings with my peers, no more going to the bar for some whiskey and some beers. Wait a minute, I lost my page.
Yeah. Well, we get the hint, and in fact, if it's okay with
I
you,
got the new coronavirus blues, and it goes on like that for about another 2 pages, one of which I can't find. And then it's interesting when the stuff really started hitting, and governments were caught off guard and they didn't know what to do. You would be listening to a newscast, and the governor or the mayor would say, as of midnight tonight, you can't do this, you can't do that. So the lines I wrote about that were, and that freedom of speech you thought you had and that freedom of assembly you enjoyed, those don't exist anymore. They've been replaced by martial law. And as of midnight tonight, you can't even put up a fight. You can't go here, you can't go there, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can't go to work, you can't go to school. I got those new coronavirus blues. And then a couple of weeks ago when the news of the vaccines came out,
right,
I figured, okay, let me write a couple more verses to update it.
Sure.
And then you'd see a lot of politicians, like the governor of California, who, they found out that he went to some party at some restaurant where you pay like about $450 for a meal. And he was pretty embarrassed by that. But it says, and for all those politicians who violate their own rules and say, please do as I say, not as I do, I got those new coronavirus blues. And something tells me that the $20 million a year pro athletes are going to get the vaccine long before I do. I got those new coronavirus blues. And what media companies can do, and you can do this if you'd like to do it with the X-Zone, is you can post the whole poem online and let people add in verses of their own and make it the longest running poem in the universe in 20 different languages.
Well, I think we'll just do that. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and see what people say, because you need to vent to this like crazy, because it's going nuts. It's really a shame.
It is. It's a good thing that the coronavirus is not a venereal disease, because everybody was caught with their pants down, right?
You're right, although back to the AIDS virus, God, it took so long for that to become accepted in the public, where people said, oh, that's a disease. It's not because you did this and that and this and that, it's a disease. And also with the way this has spread, and the way early in the situation, when people talked about masks, they would talk about the N95 masks. And I remember the N95 masks when there were bad forest fires here in California several years ago. And they said, wear the N95 mask because that blocks 95% of the particulate matter that can get in. And when the coronavirus started, they said, yeah, we need N95 masks, but let's reserve them only for the healthcare workers first. And you realize that there was just a shortage of N95 masks around. And the other masks, despite the fact that people say, well, they're effective, well, they're really not as effective as the good masks would be.
Exactly.
And it's airborne. It just goes everywhere. So it's horrific.
In between the coronavirus in the United States and around the world, but the United States seems to be suffering from a double plague this part of the time-space continuum, with the political scene that is going on down there and the riots. What do you make about this?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
it's very difficult to watch. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Congress the next couple of days. But bear in mind that 74, 75 million people did vote for Trump.
Yep.
And even though 80 million people voted for Biden, there is a tremendous amount of anger in this country, and it's really bad. It's a bad. It's scary. It's very scary, and the fact that the inauguration is coming up next week, and they expect a lot of violence at state houses and Capitol buildings in each and every state. Pretty scary stuff. It's hard to watch on the news every day. It's very hard to watch, and it's bad.
It is.
It's a bad situation. And many years ago, I actually ran for Congress. In
I remember that
in
from one of our
2008.
conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, and as I grew up in my, like I grew up in the, late 60s, early 70s, during the time of the Vietnam War, and I was lucky enough, I had a very high draft number, so I didn't get drafted. And they did it by lottery, and I had a high lottery number. That's the only lottery I won, really. And by the way, there's two lotteries now, which are like 650 million and 550
Oh,
million.
wow.
The Powerball and the Mega Ball. The Mega Million is tonight at 550 million, and the Powerball's tomorrow. Anyway, I got the numbers a little bit wrong, but they're that kind of numbers.
Good luck to you.
And people always ask, what would you do if you won? Well, I'd put $1 million in safekeeping, so I'd still have $1 million if I blew the rest.
That's right. Smart man.
Yeah. But while I was growing up and watching things like Vietnam, I pretty much was on the sidelines. And I was on the sidelines for many years. And then when we invaded Iraq and invaded Afghanistan, I thought maybe I'll run. Also, during a long time ago, I wrote a poem called Run for Office. A friend of mine was out of work. She needed a job. And the mayor's race in San Francisco was wide open at that time. And I said, why don't you run for mayor?
Yeah.
And when I said that, I started thinking about running for office. And I started, writing a poem called Run for Office. Out of work, need a job, run for office. Big debts, lots of sex, run for office. Get elected, get respected. You even get yourself protected. And it went on like that. And when you start thinking words like that, you start very seriously thinking about running for office. And then in 2006, I basically decided to run for Congress because I had some things I needed to say. I didn't get very far. I lost in 2006. I only got about 7% of the vote that time, and then I ran again in 2008 after the congressman in my district died. And then I got clobbered again. I think I only got about 3% of the votes that time. But it was a very good experience because it makes you start thinking in the public good, and you have to act in the public good. And I'll tell you something very funny. While I was running, and I turned into a do-gooder. I'd help people cross the street and things like that. And then a couple of days after the election, I was crossing the street and some car almost, hit me, and I started screaming and cursing at him, and I realized, oh, I'm back.
He's back.
I'm back.
All right, Robert, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our first commercial break. And X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, please visit his website, www.barrows.com. That's BARROWS.com. And Robert and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada, where not only is the province of Ontario locked down, but for the second time in 365 days, we are now in a state of emergency. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. My guest this hour is Robert Barrows, and his website is barrows.com. Robert, before we get back into talking about the topics that I'd like to talk to you about, including your books, your video tombstone. As somebody who's in the advertising industry as well as public relations, what do you think it will take for the United States of America to unite again?
I think it'll take calm. And quite frankly, I think as soon as Mr. Trump is out of there, and you see that Mr. Biden is calm, he's intelligent.
Yeah.
He's definitely a politician. He's been in politics for over 40 years in Congress and in the Senate. And he's careful about what he says. And he knows what he's doing. And I think it'll just calm itself just by itself after a very short while. I think the radical fringe element, when they realize that they really can't accomplish much by violence and by what they're trying to do, will probably disappear a little bit. Now, I may be very well surprised and shocked at the outcome, but I think it'll just go away. And I'm not quite sure why I say that. I live in a suburb which isn't seeing, much kind of protest at all. If I were living in Washington, D.C., and I just saw 30,000 people storm the Capitol, or if I were a congressperson wearing a bulletproof vest all the time and having a bulletproof vest in my desk, I may think very differently. But I think it'll go away after just a little while. I'm not exactly, however, at the same time, the FBI is talking about all the chatter that they're finding on the web that is basically militaristic and talking about burning down the government and killing this and doing that. I may be totally wrong and way too optimistic about this, but I think it'll go away. Now, the other problem we have, as other countries around the world have, is the economy has been so devastated by the coronavirus and just totally, disrupting supplies and, supply and demand and chains of manufacturing and everything else, and just so many people out of jobs and out of work that there's going to be a tremendous problem underlying all of this stuff. So the politics might be rough for a while, but I think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get better. From an advertising and PR point of view, sometimes you just have to let it go and let it take care of itself. If you try and advertise it one way or the other and say, be nice to each other, be kind, there are people who are going to say, wait a minute, what are you spending your money on that for? How come you're not helping people? How come there are thousands of people homeless in the streets, millions of people out of work? We've got some tough times ahead. But at the same time, I kind of compare it to saying, this is tough, but imagine if we were growing up during World War II and living in Europe.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
Or Japan after they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
Yeah.
So this is just a pandemic we can get through.
Yeah.
It's a very different situation.
Tell us about your video tombstone.
Yes. What would I say for my video tombstone?
Yes. What would you say about your video tombstone? Good point.
Yeah. There are several competitors now. I never actually built the video tombstone because it would have cost me a lot of money to pay a tombstone engineer and a video engineer to build it, and I spent about $20,000 trying to get the patent on it, which I finally got in 2006. So I never actually built one, and at the same time I wrote a book based on stories told through video tombstones, and I was hoping, if I can sell the book to publishers and television and movie producers who might want to do a Twilight Zone or X Zone type story, series of stories or horror stories or love stories or action adventures told through video tombstones. The movies and TV shows based on video tombstones could make more money than the video tombstone could ever make, and even a bad horror movie could make zillions. But in the interim, there are now several other video tombstones on the market. There's a company in Slovenia who's selling one for about $3,500. There's a company in Japan recently which also put out a video tombstone for about $3,500 or so, in that kind of neighborhood. And there are a tremendous number of video memorials online. And video, basically you can go online and leave your whatever you want to say.
Yep.
And that's a lot cheaper than it's going to be for a video tombstone and a perpetual care fund that takes care of the video equipment throughout eternity. So the video tombstone, as the technology has improved, where like the video tombstone I was going to be selling really would have cost about $25,000.
Wow.
By the time you finish. Well, what would happen is the tombstone would cost about $5,000, and the video equipment, weatherproof video equipment, would cost about $5,000. But then the funeral home and the cemetery, would add on their profits. So all of a sudden, something that might cost $10,000 to build, it might sell for $25,000 or $30,000, and you'd need a big perpetual care fund to keep that operating forever, because you'd have to replace and repair the equipment from time to time just because of the weather. And so in reality, the video tombstone will have a much longer life in, my book, if it ever gets published, and movies and television shows based on stories told through video tombstones. But the interesting thing about video tombstones is they'll also create some fascinating free speech issues, because how can you control what somebody might say from their video tombstone? And will it be truth or lies? What if they say something that's true or not so nice about you? What if they confess to a crime? What if they make an incrimination? How can you pull the plug, and whom can you sue? And worse yet, how can you collect? The guy's dead. So there'll be some very interesting free speech issues arising from beyond the grave through video tombstones, and it'll change the way we look at life and death. It'll change the way that history is told, because now you'll be able to get the story straight from the person's mouth, and whether they're telling truth or lies, that's going to be something people will have to decide. So it's going to have a major impact on some major aspects of culture as well as entertainment, and be interesting to see what happens. A lot of funeral homes right now during COVID are advertising that you can't come to the funeral in person, but we can do the funeral for you online, so your loved ones can visit with you, and that will probably, the funeral industry knows all about the video tombstone, and they might take a look at it more closely. And if I'm lucky enough to get the book published, or somebody does a TV show on it, that'll make it happen. The show will build awareness for the tombstone will build awareness for the show, all that kind of stuff.
All right, but I can understand that a tombstone. Would this just be for a grave, or would this also be for somebody who has been cremated? If somebody's cremated and the ashes are taken home.
They Well, they could do the video memorial online in that regard. In a funeral home where they've got a bunch of cremated, where they've got a bunch of file boxes with cremated remains in them, they could put smaller screens on those cremation boxes, and people could go to a funeral home and listen to the thing. Also, a video tombstone in a cemetery can also be connected to the web, so that you could access anybody's tomb if that's available. Some people might have coded access numbers so that not everybody in the world could access their tombstone, but some people may make it open for anybody to hear.
What has been the consumer response to the video tombstone?
I haven't seen much, applause for it or complaints about it. And I have various different Google alerts on video tombstone and talking tombstone and video enhanced Gravemarker and that kind of thing. And I haven't seen any real negative stories about it. The one thing I did see many years ago was complaints about a video tombstone in Austria where people were visiting the grave of their loved one, and it happened to be close by a video tombstone, and the people who were mourning their loved one were complaining about the noise coming from the video tombstone just a few graves away. One thing that I've done in my patent application, I also explained that you could fit it with a remote control device, and that you'd pick up at the cemetery office, as well as earphones, so that it doesn't bother other people in the cemetery. One of the video tombstone that the Slovenian company put out is motion sensitive, so that when you walk by it, it starts talking. That way, they save energy, and but again, it may bother other people, and depending on what people said, who knows? But what if a guy sings songs, or the guy who died from the coronavirus blues is singing the coronavirus blues from his video tombstone?
Well,
I found one of the other pages that says no more flying, no more trains, no more buses, no more planes, no more classes, no more school, just a lot of rules. I got to.
All right, my friend, stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. My guest this hour is Robert Barrows, and if you'd like to find out more about Mr. Barrows, visit his website at www.barrows.com. That's BARROWS.com. And Robert and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in lockdown and emergency stated province of Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Clap for the Wolfman. He gon' reach your record high. Clap for the Wolfman. You gon' dig him till the day you die. said, baby, just one kiss. She said, no, no, no. Romance ain't keeping me alive.
Welcome back. Robert Barrows is my guest of this hour in the X Zone. His website is www.barrows.com. We're talking about Robert's video tombstone. And Robert, what happens if somebody went into a graveyard where this video tombstone is and it's vandalized? What happens?
Well, there are very strict rules against. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are very strict rules against vandalizing tombstones.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to vandalize a tombstone, you'd better hope there's no such things as ghosts. And quite frankly, I'll tell you something interesting. I anticipated that people might want to vandalize a tombstone. So the front of the tombstone would be fitted with a plexiglass shield to protect it from the elements as well. And any particular squirrels who don't like what it's saying. Mm-hmm. But the company in Slovenia took it one step further, where I said a plexiglass shield. They're protecting their video tombstone with bulletproof glass. so that's what you might expect. And quite frankly, after what we've seen the past few months in this country with protests, I fully expect that people might take a can of spray paint and spray paint all over it, mm-hmm. and knock it over, and the same as they're going to spray paint everything else they don't like. So although some of the spray painting is nice, I'm always amazed when you see spray paint on the top of some overpass bridge on the freeway, and you wonder, how did the people get there to do that? I respect art.
Yes.
even though they're vandalizing something, mm-hmm. some of the art's quite nice.
How are these video tombstones going to be powered? Because how do you get the power? Is it solar? Is there a battery? Is it electrical?
Oh, it's basically electrical. The same way that a cemetery has a sprinkler system running through it. Furrows in the ground, you can basically run electricity through it, the same way with just a wired thing.
Okay, so it'd be the same thing as what we have going out to our pool lighting system.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically it works the same way as your household television works. You pick up a remote control from the cemetery office, and you click on it, and it works the same way as your regular TV works. Okay,
so what would happen? All right, is it a CPU-based unit?
CPU, I'm not familiar with that term.
All right, a central processing unit, as in a computer.
Oh, you can do it any way you want. You can simplify it so that there's basically a DVD player or videotape player in the tombstone itself. Or you could feed it through a cable type system,
right?
From a central place.
Okay, now what happens all right, let's say that the unit is in the tombstone, and you have the electrical from wherever the central electrical station in the graveyard that is going to be distributing the power to the tombstone to power the unit. What happens in case of a power failure? How is that system rebooted?
The same way as you would reboot any system. You'd basically track it back to wherever the power went bad.
No. I mean the unit itself.
Oh, it's really no different than a television and a videotape recorder. That's plugged into wherever the electricity is coming from. It's just that simple.
Okay, but I mean, for example, if one of my computers go down, let's say there's a power failure, it shuts down. I have to go turn it back on, and it goes through the startup, and then I have to go to the certain section where the software is that I want to run.
That's the magic of old technology versus new technology.
Okay.
basically it's just a weatherproofed television set and a videotape player and a tombstone that can be either powered by battery or electricity. So if the electrical grid went down, you'd just wait till the electricity got turned on again.
Gotcha. How many of these systems do you estimate have been sold worldwide?
I don't have a clue. I only know of a couple that I've seen about in the news, but when I was doing my projections on them, and I was looking at the numbers and the potential market for these things, when I went to the web and I said, okay, how many people die every day in the United States? And at that time when I went to the web, it was 7,500 people die every day. And I kind of figured, okay, if only 0.1% of the people who died wanted a video tombstone, you could basically sell about, 7 tombstones a day, and in the course of a week, you might sell as many as 45 to 50 video tombstones. And if you made $5,000 to $10,000 profit on each one of those things, you could have a very substantial business going. So those were the projections based on 0.1%, and obviously it's not even near that now.
Yeah. Did you approach investors to invest money into the research and development of your product?
What I did is while I was when I filed for the patent in 2002, and when you file for a patent, you can allow it to publish a year and a half later. Now, in some cases, you might have a secret sauce that you don't want made known, and you may decide not to let it publish, but I decided to let it publish. And when it published in 2004, I got a call from a magazine called New Scientist in London, and they did a story on it. A week later, that story got picked up by Reuters as a quirk in the news, and within 24 hours, it was all around the world, and I was getting calls from all over the place wanting more information about it. I had still not received the patent yet, and the patent had actually been rejected once, then twice, and then a third time because there were due to what they call prior art. There are similar inventions prior to that. So where I basically had about 20 or 25 things that I was claiming in the patent, when I finally got the patent, it basically got whittled down to about 8 or 9, unique things relative to that patent. And during that time that I was applying for the patent, I was doing two things. One, I had written the book, Cemetery of Lies, and I started looking for agents and publishers for the book. And I also basically started sending out letters to the monument building companies in the funeral industry, letting them know that it's patent pending, and I've also written a book. And then when I finally got the patent in 2006, I sent out more letters to the funeral industry, and I'll tell you, I got some interesting non-replies. I got a letter from General Electric that said that they have a policy of acquiring any patent on anything for a total of $5,000. And since I just spent about $20,000 in legal fees trying to get the patent, I thought, well, maybe that's not such a good idea.
Right.
In retrospect, maybe I should have taken it. The funeral industry, at least in America, is very interesting. It is dominated by 3 or 4 gigantic conglomerates.
Oh, really?
Who operate under many, many different names, so that your local funeral home, looks like it's a local funeral home, but in reality, It may very well be owned by a company called Service Care International or one of a few other large funeral conglomerates. So it was fairly easy for me to, contact those companies and say, hey, I've got a patent on this. Would you be interested in acquiring the rights to the patent? And nobody was interested in it. And the monument building companies weren't interested in it either. I got a lot of press in the funeral industry, newspapers and magazines, but nobody was interested in that. And at the same time, I was sending it out to Hollywood agents and, literary agents, talking about the entertainment possibilities of stories told through video tombstones, and I wasn't able to make any headway there either. The only agent I had was an agent who really had no fiction contacts. He had a lot of nonfiction contacts, and he wasn't really the agent that I needed to help make that happen. But every so often, when I get a chance to send out another press release, related to either Halloween or any other occasion, or National Inventors Month or any other thing, or there's some story that is relevant, I'll send out a press release about it, and unfortunately I haven't been able to sell it yet, but there's always hope. That's how the book ends too. There's always hope.
Well, why do you think, in your own opinion, why the concept of the video tombstone hasn't taken off?
Oh gosh, that I honestly couldn't say, and it's not that far afield from many years ago. I remember when I was in college, I read the what am I thinking? The book, takes place in a cemetery. Stories told by I know the title is on the
tip of your tongue. Yeah.
Tongue. Oh gosh, if I sat there and Google, I could figure it out in 2 seconds. But it's stories told by people in a cemetery, and this book was written many years ago, and it was quite a famous book as well. So certainly the publishing industry is familiar with those kinds of stories, and I just had, it's funny, I got a lot of publicity on it on some shows like yours and Coast to Coast AM and things like that, and mainstream media. I think people are probably afraid of it. It could be very controversial.
All right, stand by, Robert. We've got to take our final break. Great having you with us. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, his website is www.barrows.com. That's www.barrows.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with our very special guest, Robert Barrows. Don't go away.
Make it nice, lay it clean.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. Our guest this hour is Robert Barrows. His website is www.barrows.com. And for all of you music fans, the bumpers we've played tonight are Men at Work, Who Can It Be? We've also played Guess Clap for the Wolfman by the Guess Who, and of course, Carole King's Jazzman. If you'd like to find out more about the X Zone, our broadcast schedule, and what's going on behind the scenes here, just visit our website, xzoneradiotv.com. Robert, first of all, it's always a great pleasure talking to you. Tell us a bit about your book. Now, we always talk about your tombstone, but I'd like to talk about the book now.
Well, the book is a collection of stories told from beyond the grave through video tombstones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll read you the first paragraph because it pretty much sets the stage for what you might feel like and hear in a cemetery filled with video tombstones. And it starts off chapter 1, Boot Hill. Okay.
Yep.
Things were pretty quiet around here until they brought in those damn video tombstones. Tombstones with TVs in them. Talking tombstones. Now all you had to do was walk by a grave and press a button on a remote control, and you could watch the dead come back to life again on a TV screen and listen to anything they wanted to say before they died. It didn't even matter whether it was truth or lies. You just couldn't keep from listening, and everyone had a story to tell. Was it a secret confession? All the intimate details, an anecdote, their side of the story, or was it finally time to make amends? Some people told jokes. Some people sang songs. Some people said sweet things to loved ones. Sometimes all they said was a brief hello, and sometimes they said as much as you could fit on a disc. Sometimes they just said, F you. Some of the people said awful things, and some of the graves were coded so only certain people could listen in. Other graves were open for the world to listen to if anyone was interested, and they were, in big numbers. Now, it goes on like that a little bit, and it's told by a groundskeeper at the cemetery who's basically listened to just about all the graves. And he says, one thing I learned from these tombstones is that many of the lives in this town were intertwined in ways you couldn't have even imagined. Another thing I learned is that almost everybody was a different person with everyone they knew and everyone they met. And sometimes even the mildest among us has stories and thoughts to tell that even the wildest among us might never have dared. Sometimes the tale is about love, sometimes it's despair. It starts out simple and winds up complex. It starts out in trust and winds up in fear. Life is like that. It starts out one way and ends up quite another. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and whatever it is, it's all told here. Now, it goes on a little bit more, and the second page ends, but I'll tell you a couple of things I have learned for certain. Some things indeed are better left unsaid, and some people just can't keep a secret even when they're dead. Then I go into basic stories. Then I go into various different stories. Most of the stories are about love and sex and romance and good and evil and heaven and hell and money and business and things like that, and a lot of stuff about heaven and hell. And the one thing I like, chapter 2, which is about a girl I went out with for a while, starts like this. She was the kind of girl who was nothing but trouble. Women hated her. Men couldn't resist her. To a woman, she was the kind of girl who will steal your man. To a man, she was downright hot, sexy trouble, just the kind of trouble you're looking for. And then it goes on to, he says, come a little closer to my tombstone, and I'll tell you how that all began. So you've got a lot of stuff like that in the book. And then the last chapter basically talks about the meaning of life. And it's all about the meaning of life. This is the end, the conclusion, the be-all and end-all, the alpha and the omega, the first and the last. Did you get off to a bad start? Can you start some things over again? Is this really the end? By the way, the universe is one continuous loop, my friend. No beginning, no end. Did it all really start with a big bang? Tell me about 1,000 years from now how they think it all began, and tell me 1,000 years from then. So I pose a lot of questions about the universe, heaven and hell. A lot of it is about good and evil. and your motives, because it's your motives that really make up a lot of what life is about. So I touch on everything from philosophy to the origin of the universe to making money to making love. And it's sexy, it's humorous, and provocative. And it's actually an easy read for mass audience. And it's not the kind of book that's so heavy that it's going to give you a hernia reading it. So that's a rough idea of what the book is about. And I've got stories about a lot of most of it's autobiographical.
Right.
But I don't present it that way.
Now,
I present it in a fictional narrative.
Is your book available for sale to the public?
No, it is not. I did not try and publish it on Amazon, because if I published there, I wouldn't make much money on it. I'm really reserving it for a major, not necessarily a major, but a real live, legit publishing house, and or a movie producer, as opposed to trying to publish it myself and finding out all I have is a garage full of books. I published a couple of poetry books on Amazon, which are among the worst selling books on Amazon.
How come?
And
How
poems
come?
aren't even that bad.
No. Eh?
My pitch on those is help rescue all these great poems from obscurity.
Now, how long have you been looking for an agent or a producer to take your book to the next step?
What year is this?
This is 2021. Yeah. 2021.
I wrote the book in 2 weeks on a vacation at Club Med back in 2002. And then it took me about 6 months to edit it and polish it. So basically, since about 2003, I've been looking for an agent or publisher to carry it, to get it. And I'll tell you, I received a lot of rejection letters from it, from many companies. And one of the rejection letters was really kind of interesting. It said that they decided to pass on the book due to the dark and disturbing nature of its contents. And I thought to myself, hallelujah, somebody actually read it, because it doesn't really get dark and disturbing till about halfway into the book. And one of the chapters really is a little bit dark and disturbing. And maybe, I'll let the publisher decide if they want to edit it down the road. But as I was getting all these rejection letters, several years later, I actually wrote an article based on, which was a parody of rejection letters, called Literary Agents in Love, or 22 Ways to Say No to a Date Like a Literary Agent Says No. And that article actually got published in about 3 or 4 different places.
Wow.
Yeah. So one of these days I'll find a company that says, hey, this is exactly what we're looking for. And there's still hope. There's always hope.
Why do you think the public in the year 2021 and society in general has a fascination with death? They're afraid of it, but they're still fascinated by it.
What did I hear on the news today? It was something. It might have been an ad, or it might have been I think it might have been a promo for something. You've only. I think I might have seen it on the web. Somebody posted something that said, death just happens once. Live every, day of your life like it's the last day. Something along those lines. Because we don't know. We don't know the answer. We would like to think there's an afterlife, but is there? It's a very good question. I'll tell you, several years ago, actually in 2017, I was diagnosed with a mild form of lymphoma. My doctor was very clear with me that it's not the kind of lymphoma that people die from. You'll die from something else. We can treat this lymphoma with targeted chemotherapy. And I was very lucky. After 6 months of chemo, I was fine, and it's been remission ever since.
Well, that's great.
but at the same time, you know, there's a song from Simon and Garfunkel, the silence like a cancer grows. I had no symptoms of anything that I thought might have been cancer prior to that. But you can't help thinking about death and dying when you're given that diagnosis. And it puts things into perspective. When I think about Cemetery of Lies and things about, you know, after eternity and death, I guess that's the big unknown. I really don't spend much time thinking about it, despite the tombstone, despite Cemetery of Lies, despite those kinds of things. One of these days I'll kick off, and that's life. And but I'm in no hurry. I'm 70 years old now. I wish I could be 20 again. I should have. I should have, taken some of my DNA when I was 20 and cloned it and kept it in a freezer. If I take my DNA now, it's 70-year-old DNA, and it ain't going to be what I want. I'm not the same man I was before. I recently, what did I see? Betty White was 99 yesterday. I saw an interview over the weekend. I think it might have been on I forget the TV program, but it was with the producer of All in the Family, and he was like 98 years old, and he said comedy keeps him going. So I got some jokes I've written too, and I don't know. I couldn't tell you where I was at. You know, it's funny. While I was trying to sell this to one of the mortuaries around here, a man gave me some very interesting input. He said in the funeral business, there's something they call the season of death. And he said that is people only, basically people generally only visit the tombstone of their loved one about 2 times, and that may be just in the first year or so after the person dies, and after that they don't visit it so much more. So when you have people who say that's the season of death, maybe that's why they're not that interested in video tombstones, because they may not think that there'll really be much of a market for them or people visiting them.
Robert, the time has come, my friend, when you and I must say so long for this hour. But I want to thank you so much for joining us, and quickly tell our guests where they can find out more about you online.
Oh, at www.barrows.com, and you'll see all sorts of things on my website, from art to songs I've written to a book about advertising I wrote and all kinds of stuff.
Robert, take care of yourself, my good friend. Stay safe, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet back here in the X Zone.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my good friend. And X Zone Nation, once again, if you'd like to contact Robert Barrows, or if you'd like to talk to him about maybe getting his projects going, visit his website at www.barrows.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.